What if I told you the most important invention in human history wasn't the wheel, wasn't fire, wasn't language? It was boredom. Not a tool, not a discovery, not an accident, just a feeling. The same feeling you get at 2 a.m. when you've scrolled through everything and nothing feels interesting anymore. That exact feeling. 150,000 years ago, built art, built music, built religion, built civilization, and today we're doing everything we can to kill it. Every app, every notification, every autoplay. We are literally destroying the one thing that made us human. This is that story. First question, did ancient humans even have time to get bored? Most people assume no. They were just trying to survive, find food, build shelter, sleep. When did they have time to be bored? This assumption was so common that historians believed it for decades. But in 1966, one anthropologist flipped everything upside down. Marshall Sahlins, Harvard University, studied the Kung San tribe of the Kalahari Desert. These are people who still live the ancient hunter-gatherer lifestyle today. No influence of civilization, no technology. Exactly the way humans lived thousands of years ago. Sahlins noticed one thing that genuinely shocked him. These people only worked 15 to 20 hours per entire week. Per week, not per day, per week. The rest of the time, rest, conversation, and nothing in particular. Sahlins called them the original affluent society. Wealthy not in money, wealthy in time. Ancient humans had more free time than most of us will ever get. So the question isn't whether they got bored. The question is, when they got bored, what did they do? South Africa. A cave called Blombo's Cave. In 2004, archaeologists were excavating the site and they found something they never expected. Tiny shells, with holes drilled through them, coated in red pigment. At first glance, maybe tools, maybe weapons, but no. These shells were 75,000 years old, and they were jewelry. Someone 75,000 years ago picked up a stone tool, spent hours drilling a tiny hole through a small shell, colored it, and wore it around their neck. There was no need for it, no practical reason whatsoever. They just had something to do, had time, and had empty hands. This is the oldest known art object in human history, and it was born from boredom. But here's something most people miss. How hard was it to drill through a shell 75,000 years ago? No electric drill, no metal tools, just a sharp stone, and hours of effort. This person was bored and still spent hours drilling through a tiny shell. Because what was the alternative? Staring at the cave wall. Necessity didn't create art. Boredom created art. Germany, another cave, 2008. Researchers found a flute, made from a vulture bone, with 5 finger holes, 40,000 years old. 40,000 years ago, no agriculture, no cities, no civilization we would even recognize. But one person picked up a bone during their free time, carved holes into it, and composed music. Why? Neuroscientist Daniel Levitin, who studies the origins of music, says, musical ability is older than language itself. Our brains were already wired for rhythm, for pattern recognition. Because pattern recognition kept us alive. Hear a specific sound in the jungle, recognize the pattern, run, survive. Boredom gave that wiring a new purpose, creating rhythm, creating melody, creating music. And today, 40,000 years later, we do on Spotify exactly what a bored cave dweller did with a bone. This is the most important part. Pay close attention. To experience boredom, you need something animals don't have, a concept of time. Being bored means this moment is lasting too long. Something else could be happening. The future exists, and it could be better than right now. A dog waiting for its owner isn't bored. It's just waiting. It doesn't know it could be doing something else. But a human 100,000 years ago sitting by the fire in a cave gets bored, and their mind starts to wander. What if tomorrow's hunt goes wrong? What was that sound outside? What's beyond that mountain? Where do we go when we die? Wait, that last question. Where do we go when we die? That question remains unanswered to this day. Religion tried to answer it. Philosophy tried. Science is still trying. And who asked it for the very first time? A bored human being by a fire in a cave with nothing to do. In 2013, psychologist Sandy Mann conducted research to prove the connection between boredom and creativity. She took a group of people, made them copy numbers from a phone book, the most boring task possible, then tested their creativity. The result: the bored group dramatically outperformed everyone else. Because when the brain has no stimulation, it generates its own. And that process is creativity. Ancient humans had no stimulation, so they created their own. Art, music, stories, religion, civilization. There was one more thing ancient humans did when they got bored: they talked. And here's a twist that will genuinely surprise you. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar, Oxford University, studied what humans talk about during their free time. The result: 65% of all conversation is pure gossip. Who did what? Who said what? What happened to someone you both know? You're thinking, what a waste of time. But Dunbar says it wasn't a waste of time. It was evolution. Before language, primates bonded by physically grooming each other, cleaning each other's fur, removing parasites. But grooming is slow, one friend at a time. When humans developed language, grooming was replaced. Now you could sit around a fire and bond with 10 people at once, just by talking. And those conversations? Gossip. Boredom created gossip. Gossip created language. Language created society. The entire foundation of human civilization is a bored human small talk. Now let's add another dimension. It wasn't just cave dwellers. Entire civilizations flourished because of boredom. In ancient Egypt, when the Nile flooded, farmers had months with absolutely nothing to do. No crops, no harvest, just time. So the pharaoh said, let's build pyramids. And those bored farmers who had nothing to do went on to build the largest structures the world had ever seen. The pyramids were built because of boredom. In ancient Greece, Athenian citizens had slaves who did all the work. They didn't need to do anything themselves. So they got bored. And that boredom gave birth to philosophy. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, all bored people who had time to think. In Rome, soldiers were stationed at borders months with no war, just waiting. So they built roads, built aqueducts, developed architecture. History has one clear pattern. Every time humans were given empty time, they created something extraordinary. Now let's come to today. You have 47 apps, streaming services, podcasts, social media. And the moment you get bored, you pick up your phone, scroll, get bored again, scroll again. But psychology has a term for this: cognitive overload. When every single moment is stimulated, the brain never rests, never processes, never creates. Your brain has a system, the default mode network. It activates when you're doing absolutely nothing. And this exact network is responsible for creativity, self-reflection, empathy, problem solving. But it only switches on when you're bored. The smartphone stole that boredom, and with it stole the creativity that only boredom could produce. 75,000 years ago, someone was bored and made jewelry. 40,000 years ago, someone was bored and created music. 2,500 years ago, Greek philosophers were bored and discovered logic and reason. Today, we get bored and scroll Instagram. So here's the full picture. Boredom created art. Boredom created music. Boredom created language. Boredom created philosophy. Boredom created civilization. And now we are dedicated to destroying that boredom. Every notification, every scroll, every autoplay is filling that empty time, the same empty time that built the entire world. Next time you get bored, don't pick up your phone, just sit with it. Let your brain think, let it wander. Because somewhere in that wandering, someday a thought might come that could change everything. Boredom didn't hold ancient humans back, it's what made them human. And that same boredom right now could build something inside you, if you just let it. Subscribe for history that will make you think differently. Like if this video made you stop and reflect. Comment below, what do you do when you're bored?